Heritage International Headquarters in Fort Mill, South Carolina. This is Prophetic Perspectives on Current Events with Rick Joyner.
Welcome to Prophetic Perspectives on Current Events. And if you didn't catch our last program, began to talk about how the fight has just begun. And I know a lot of believers, every time we get our candidate elected, the one we're pulling for or want, there's been a tendency in the church to relax, to lay back. But, Trump has just begun the fight. And the guy fought. He had to fight everybody, even the establishment of his own party, the media, the president, as well as, Hillary, his opposition, and many in the Republican Party were sniping at him constantly. He was fighting everyone. And I'm sure he felt relief. He actually won, taking on the whole world, which is a good thing, I think, because he doesn't owe anybody. Here's the first president we may have ever gotten into office since Washington who really doesn't owe allegiance to anyone, because he had to fight just about everybody to get there. But the people were with him. And and listen, they're making a big deal out of how Hillary seemingly won the popular vote by maybe as many as 3 million votes. Listen, it doesn't work that way. That's why we have the Electoral College. If you remove New York City, just one city from the equation, Trump won the popular vote by a pretty good margin. If you remove New York City and California, he was overwhelmingly the victor in the rest of the country, as far as the popular vote. Now, that's why they have the Electoral College, so that one city won't dominate the whole country with its political views. I think New York City went 80% for Hillary, less 17% or so for Trump, and there's several million votes cast there. But that was the margin just in that one city. So overwhelmingly, the whole country removed just a few little points. Trump won. The people were with him. And I've been very encouraged by the way he jumped right in. Everybody, I remember all the media, they didn't quit attacking him when he won. Even though he had proved them all wrong, they continued to be wrong. I remember how the first week they were saying his transition team is in disarray. The next week they're saying he's going too fast. He's getting too much done. And I have a friend of mine, a guy I've known and really liked for a long time, is over 1/4 of the transition team. He's over all the domestic appointments. I spent several days with him recently talking about it. He said this is the most brilliant transition he's ever seen. He's been in government for a long time, my friend. He has been there since before Reagan, I think. And he just said, I've never seen leadership like this, where the whole thing is define the purpose of this position. Now find the person who's best qualified and competent to get that job done and get them in there. Those are the qualifications for every position. I've had a lot of people, just because I've had a little interchange with the campaign and with Trump, a lot of people are saying to me, please help me get a job. I can't do that. But I've been able to help get some on some list. I tell them, you better come having what you want to do clearly defined, and you better have a plan, a workable, brilliant plan for getting that job done, because if you don't have that in your interview, you don't have a chance. They're looking for people who will get it done. Trump is not rewarding people with positions. He's looking out for his country and putting people in positions who can do the job. We've never seen anything like this before. He's upsetting a lot of people. Now, he appreciates loyalty, obviously. But more than that, he's looking for who can do this job. And he's got a bunch of doers in there. And people who are incredibly competent, who have tremendous track records, either in the military or in business. Why? Why those? I mean, they're afraid of the militarization of his cabinet. Now I'm trying to talk about these things as a parallel to how they apply in the church. Because, I think we've got a lot of the same dysfunction in the church that we have in our government at this time. And I want to talk about just one area of our government that has just about ruined our country. One department of our government has just about ruined us. And how it needs to be reversed. But you look at the church and we did the same thing. We're supposed to be the light of the world. We're supposed to be showing the world how to do these things. Instead, we're having to look at the world and learn. I tell you, I've studied leadership most of my life because the Lord's just my profession as a pilot and then owning an air charter service. My customers were some of the most successful in every field. And after a while I got it. I said, Lord, you're putting me here to learn from these people, the high impact people, the successful people, whether it was sports, government, entertainment. These were my customers. Many of them became my best friends. Some of them became partners in different things. And I got to know them, but I studied what made them successful. And I have to say, Trump has some of the greatest leadership skills of anyone I've ever met. And I think I've met and gotten to know some of the best. And but this guy is remarkable. He's out of the box in some of his skills and abilities in leadership. Now, anyone with those kind of skills are going to be making as many people mad as they are happy. Sometimes a whole lot more will be mad at him. Sometimes everybody's going to be mad at him. It's not about getting people to like you. It's about getting the job done. What assignment does he have to do? Well, why is he choosing business leaders or military leaders for top positions in our government? Now, a lawyer is trained to think a certain way. And it's inculcated into them in law school. And very few, I've only met a couple in my life, and I know some great lawyers who are great people, great at what they do, but I don't want them doing other stuff. I wouldn't want them leading even a department in my ministry in a lot of cases because they couldn't do it. I don't think they could do it. Because a lawyer is trained to address every problem and situation by making another rule, making another law. That's what lawyers do. That's why we have thousands and thousands of laws now on the books that we ceased needing decades ago. Many of them are contradicting each other. We've got whole departments that overlap and are doing the same job in our federal government. It's unbelievable. We have the same thing in the church. Instead of everyone like Joel 2 marching in line, not crowding each other, whatever, we're all over each other. We're a mob more than a disciplined army. But a military thinker, they're not going to think about things like that. Someone who's trained in the military and comes up through the military, is trained well, they understand. First thing you got to do is define your objective. And then you've got to come up with a clear, wise, workable strategy for accomplishing that objective using the resources at your disposal. Whatever weapons you have, whatever amount of men or ships or airplanes or whatever, you've got to come up with a plan to adequately and effectively use what you've got to accomplish your objective. You've got to be able to measure your progress towards the objective and know whether maybe part of your strategy is not working right, so you need to change it, and things like that. But you get the job done. If you're assigned to take this certain hill, you will take that hill. It's not a matter of, okay, we failed. No, you will take that hill if you want to keep your job in the military. You've got to do it. And so Trump is bringing people into his administration that think like that. That's what my friend, who's leading part of the transition team. I've got several friends that are working in the Trump transition, but one of them's leading 1/4 of the transition. And he said this is shaking everybody up, but it is so encouraging to everybody. So encouraging. They're going to get the job done. Now, business people are, in a sense, it's different in some ways, but they've got to think too. They've got to have goals. They've got to have a vision. They've got to have a purpose. They've got to be able to measure their progress, and they are measured. If you're the leader of a major corporation, you're being examined every day by the stock market. People are voting for or against you every day on the stock market. It's true. Your stock goes up, they like what you're doing. It starts going down, they don't have much, they're losing their faith in you. You know what the average lifespan of a corporate executive is, corporate leader of a major corporation? 18 months. People are worried about them making all this money. They're not going to be there long. They're going to burn out quick. They've got a short time in that place to make it and make a difference in most cases. Now, there are some who have built great teams and all and been able to stay at the top of a major corporation for years and even decades. There are exceptions, but the average time that a corporate leader of a major corporation is going to be in that position is 18 months. I'm just saying. And we have a lot of basic things you learn about leadership too. The leaders know, politicians don't. Now, we're used to politicians who are mostly lawyers running our government. About 95% of the people in public positions are lawyers. And the only way they can think, okay, we got a problem, we got to make another law. Now, a leader looks at a problem, we got to lead through it. How do we fix the problem? And there is a huge difference in that. And just the way you look at things, much less do things or try to do things. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more and focus on one department in our government that has just about ruined our whole country. It's got to be recovered quick. One of our purposes as a ministry is to be a storehouse for the body of Christ, to provide meat in due season. And we've got 3 very timely books that we're offering as our product special. This one, Moment of Truth by Mark Nuttall. This man, not many people know him or know of him. He was an associate of Milton Friedman. He's one of the greatest economic minds on world economics in the world today. He also may be the single person most responsible for the unraveling of the Iron Curtain. One of the most incredible stories of our times, one of our best friends. But this book that he wrote before the 2008 elections was unbelievably accurate in everything he said, everything he predicted. It's just astonishing. We went through it to review how we might have to update this book recently. We said, don't change a thing. It is still absolutely relevant for today. Then I have a book I wrote recently, I See a New America. Where is America headed? What are we going to look like? This book tells a story. I had congressmen tell me they ran in the last election on the principles that are shared in this book. And then Courage That Changed the World, one of my most popular of all, one of the most important stories for these times, one of the greatest courages, I think, in history, of courage and endurance, one of the greatest stories in history. And all 3 of these that would retail for over $50, we're offering for just $35, and we pay the shipping. Normally, another $10 is tacked on for shipping, but we're going to pay the shipping, free shipping, just $35. You want to take advantage of this special offer. Well, we've been talking about how maybe why our new president-elect, soon-to-be president, is putting military leaders and business leaders and top positions in our government. I think it's going to, I pray it filters, this whole mentality filters all the way down. But there's no danger of a military takeover, the government, just because there are former military leaders being put in top positions. It's not about that. He's putting people in top positions who know how to think strategically, take objectives, define objectives, accomplish those objectives, how to mobilize, how to, every army, I don't care how many men you've got, tanks, whatever, you're dead. You're going to lose if you don't have enough food for the troops, enough fuel for the tanks, ammunition, everything else. You got to think about supply as much as you do your strategy for the battle. That's one of the reasons Napoleon became such a brilliant military leader. It was based on he had one of the most brilliant insights into supplying his troops. He built one of the most effective ways to supply them ever devised, still used. And that's why he could move a division from one part of the battlefield to all the way across to the opposite side of the battlefield, when his opponents couldn't even consider that. There was no way they could get the food there, the bullets, everything else they needed. Napoleon was so brilliant in supplying his troops, it opened up to him strategies his opponents couldn't even consider. That's how he would outflank them and do all kinds of things. It was based in his understanding of supply. Well, a lot of ways this applies to America, but I want to address one department that is causing our whole country to fail in our purpose. And I'm talking about the Department of Education. You go, do your research. Now, every one of you watching this program, I believe you have the Spirit of truth. You have the Holy Spirit guiding you. He will lead you into all truth. Just ask him and follow him. And you have another major asset called Google. We have unbelievable research at our fingertips now. If you don't like Google, the other search engines, we've got whatever. I mean, we have unbelievable ways to research these things in minutes that used to take me weeks, not much longer to dig into. Mark the beginning of our Department of Education, which is an unconstitutional department. Why do I say that? Our Constitution is clear that every domain or authority that is not specifically given to the federal government remains with the states and with the people. That's why many of the decisions that are causing the biggest conflicts in our country now are unconstitutional decisions. The Supreme Court, no other federal court or federal, Congress or president or anything else had the authority to touch those things. And if they had been left with the states, we'd all be doing good right now, for the most part. I mean, there would be conflicts with the states, and there was meant to be a place of debate, but nowhere is our federal government given authority over education. That was meant to be with the states. Go back and look at what great education we had worldwide. We were one of the best in the world. Right at the top, we institute the Department of Education, and our education has plummeted ever since. And the downward trend is increasing in velocity. We're now like 56th in the world. Many third world countries or developing nations are passing us in education now. We're getting much worse. I saw this headline yesterday. Millennials lack basic survival skills compared to previous generations. They were talking about even basic things. They couldn't make it. If power went out for a little while, they wouldn't last long at all. They don't have no idea how to get food, even the basic things. And boy, some of the things in this article is really alarming. It says young people are clueless when it comes to basic survival skills. They could not even tie a knot or start a fire, according to this research in general. Now, that's, I think, due to the education our kids have been getting. Now, yeah, I mean, we could do many programs on the Department of Education, but it was George W. Bush, who wanted to be the education president, instituted No Child Left Behind. Have you noticed how so many of our federal laws and that we pass, the bills that we pass and all, they do the opposite of what the bill is named? The Affordable Care Act, which is known as Obamacare, was supposed to make health care much more affordable for everyone. It's done the opposite. There are many people this year in Phoenix, they're going to have like 120% increase in their premiums just this year for their insurance, their health insurance. Many of them have gotten 50% or more increases. Not only that, the deductible's gone up so high, they'll never use it, and they don't have insurance anymore unless it's an absolute catastrophic problem where they have to, it's just wrecked our healthcare system. It's not affordable at all. It was the opposite. Well, No Child Left Behind, in my opinion, you look at the program, what it did, it caused all children to get left behind. All children in America to start losing ground in education. What it did, it dumbed everything down to the least common denominator. You don't want to leave any child behind, so all the brilliant kids aren't put in their own class. This is really against some of the things that we really need for excellent education, but you taught at the level of the least. Now, I appreciate somebody wanting to help everybody, but that's not how you do it. You're hurting everybody. You're hurting them. That's like all the other craziness that came out of this, where we're all winners. Nobody fails. No, you've got to have failures. You've got to understand failure. You've got to have it defined, because life is full of them, and you've got to recognize when they hit you and either learn from that failure so that you don't keep making the same mistakes, or you're going to live in defeat your entire life, which is what's happening to our kids. Don't know how to deal with opposition or anything. And where they had, competitions where, you've heard the testimonies where children say, why should I study harder than anybody else? Everybody's going to pass. Everybody's going to get the same grade. That really happens in a lot of our schools. It doesn't pay you to study harder than anyone else, which translates when you get out in the world, it's not going to benefit you to work harder than anyone else. That's what destroyed communism. It's the destructive force in Marxism, where everybody's going to get the same, we're all going to do, so why should anybody try harder? So nobody tries harder. And what it has done is those who try harder and win more because of it, the government says, well, we're going to come and take that and give it to the others who didn't do anything by taxing you, whatever. And this is what is destroyed. But the way this was accelerated and No Child Left Behind, it's mind-boggling. Common Core goes to a new level of evil. It's one of the most evil. I cannot imagine any sane person wanting that garbage taught to our kids. And I would say this boldly. This is treason. It may be not intentional treason, but its ultimate impact will be to absolutely destroy America, make us incapable of competing or maybe even surviving in the world that comes. The guy who was to certify the math part of Common Core, when he looked at it, he said any child that goes through this program is going to lose 2 years for every year they're in the program. They're going to go backwards 2 years. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. It gets much worse. What they teach through the sex education and everything else, even to young kids, it's abominable. Came through our federal Department of Education. We got a problem. We got a serious problem. We've got to address it. I'm so thankful. I think we've got a president that understands it. He took a stand against Common Core. He took a stand. He said, we're going to fix that Department of Education. He's going to do something that will probably help fix it faster than anything else he can do. He's going to go to the voucher system. We'll talk more about that in our next program and dig down on some of these others. Thank you. Hello, I'm Rick Joyner. I'm here with David Valier, our worship leader here at MorningStar, and we wanted to talk to you about the worship collective that's coming up this March 2nd through 4th.
Yeah.
And March 4th is a crucial prophetic day.
Oh, that's awesome.
March
Didn't think
4th,
about that.
like that's what we're going to do here. If you want to go forward, you want to be here on March 4th, but man, we got an incredible lineup for this thing.
We really do. Jason Upton, which, we love that guy. He's amazing. Every time he's come here, it's just been an amazing time. We've got Sean Foyt, who is, he's the head of Burn 24/7. So that's a worship movement that is just going all around the world. And he's a Bethel music artist. We've got Stephen Roach, who is just the most amazing musician. He's a part of Songs of Water.
He's one of my favorites.
And it's going to be incredible. We've got, of course, Susie Uriah and Sarah McMillan. It's going to be awesome. I mean, we've got just such a great lineup. Kalani, and we really can't wait to have you guys here with us.
Yeah, and these worship collectives, I mean, they have been powerful.
Yeah, they really have.
We have really, something is kicking off. You see it just going level to level during these things. But we're going to be covering prayer, spontaneous worship, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing it, not just talking.
Oh yeah,
about
yeah. We're gonna have teachings on it, and then we're gonna do it, and really just show how you can do this in your community at home. It's gonna be awesome. So come and join us March 2nd through 4th.
You want to be there.
Yes.
I'm going to be there. I want to see you there. We are going to go to heaven together.
Yes.
On TV, online, on the go, and on your iPad. Tune into Prophetic Perspectives with Rick Joyner, always available on MorningStarTV.com.